A Fox News alert, the Senate Finance Committee is holding a hearing now on President Trump's nominee to be Health and Human Services Secretary, Dr. Tom Price. It is a key position in the administration as Republicans push to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. With us now to talk about this particular nominee and the process, Leslie Marshall, a progressive radio host and Fox News contributor, and Kevin McCullough, conservative radio host with the Salem Media Group. Welcome to both of you.
Hi, John.
Thank you, John.
There have been allegations brought forward that Tom Price has not been entirely honest or maybe ethical in some of his stock dealings. Kevin, what do you make of it?
Not a whole lot. If they had any actual evidence of any wrongdoing, it would have come out long before now. And about the worst thing that they can say is that he didn't reveal that he was at one time technically under investigation for an ethics charge, in which he said on his questionnaire to the Senate committee that he had never been investigated for ethics. It was a charge that was eventually completely dismissed. They barely began any kind of investigation into it in the first place. And the purpose of filling out the questionnaires is to try to get the information out. He admitted that he had made a mistake. They went back and corrected it, and that's about the extent of what they've actually got in terms of actual gotcha stuff.
Leslie, does any of this stuff sound monumental enough to you that the guy should be denied the position for which he's been nominated?
I'm actually not sure that it's monumental enough for him to be denied the position, but I think it's something that has to be ferreted out, if you will, because, John, this is a pattern of behavior, and we are talking about an individual who's going to be responsible for the transition, the costs involved of replacing the Affordable Care Act, which affects millions of individuals. And then when we look just at Medicare alone, where over 130 million people are affected, many of which who are elderly, who are sick, or who are poor, and that is a growing segment of our population, the elderly segment of our population, due to the baby boomers. This is troubling. If you can't keep your own affairs and finances in order, how are you going to control something this size and this scale and have the trust of the American people, which, quite frankly, he certainly needs in this position?
John, that's an unfair characterization, though, because the HHS secretary is there to execute the will of the executive branch as Congress defines it by law. There will not be a lot of individual discretion that he has to change spending priorities and so forth. Those are going to be defined by legislation, and so it's unfair to say that this is going to be a guy that comes in with a radical agenda that can just, wholesale rewrite things.
You know what, I disagree with you, Kevin. If you just look, even finances aside, if you look at this guy is very conservative, to the right of most of the GOP members in the House and the Senate. This is somebody that not only wants to defund all funding, any finance for Planned Parenthood, but this is somebody who also is not in favor of having any funding for contraception. And when you look at that impoverished segment of the population of females in our country, what do? You say to them, what do we do to reduce abortion? Prevent the pregnancy, because we're not preventing them from having sex, and you're saying, oh, well, we're not going to finance contraception as well. These are issues. These are huge issues.
Right,
and when you add the
issues
finances to that, I think it's more than fair.
But not an issue that the HHS secretary will be left to decide. That will be decided by legislation.
The issue that Orrin Hatch, the Republican from Utah, is complaining about, he says that the rancor in the Senate is as bad as he's ever seen it now. He says all of this is about partisanship. Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there. Leslie Marshall, Kevin McCullough, thank you both.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
We'll be right